It is Black History Month, and schools teach the same tired stuff about MLK and Rosa Parks, and there are so many other things you could be teaching. So I am wearing my All My Heroes Had FBI files, and these are some of the Black heroes that nobody really knows about because all we do is teach about Rosa Parks and MLK. So here are a bunch of things we could teach instead of just the same old, same old. Madam C.J. Walker was the first self-made American woman millionaire. We say that she was the first Black woman millionaire, but she was the first American woman, which means that all these white women who had the advantages, who had the resources, who had everything working in their favor, they were not the first millionaire. A Black woman whose ancestors came from enslavement, who was born, soon after, enslavement, I believe. She became the first millionaire. We never talk about that. That would be so amazing for our Black girls to know that they come from that's what their ancestry is. We don't talk about that. Black Wall Street, thriving Black community that had its own airport, its movie theaters, Black-owned businesses, had some of the richest Black people in the world living in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and white mobs, white racists, white supremacists that were protected by the government, that were helped by the government. They came and dropped bombs on this community, killed over 300 Black people, left Black people homeless. Insurance wouldn't pay for their homes, put them in internment camps. And this was not written about. It was hidden from history books because white people don't like to tell the truth, right? But this thriving Black community, which goes to prove that Black people can have thriving Black communities and have resources, but then white supremacists come and destroy it. How slavery made white America rich, that how enslavement of my ancestors and having free labor for over 250 years made schools like Princeton and Yale and made all these resources and all of this money that you see in white families. And that's the reason why white families have 5 to 13 times more wealth than Black families. It's not because we're incompetent. It's by design. We don't talk about that. We should talk about that. Black inventions and contributions to all kinds of things, especially scientific ones. So how Black people, Henrietta Lacks cells contributed to COVID research, how we made the GPS, how we made call waiting, how we made the first home security system, the smoke detector, the fire extinguisher, the refrigerator, the air conditioner. We don't talk about these things. How without us, they wouldn't have got to the moon. That it was the help of Black women that got us to the moon. It was Black women that invented the GPS and the first home security system. We don't talk about that. We should. How Jesus became white, how we have this image of Jesus when Revelations chapter 1 verses 14 and 15 say that Jesus had skin like burnt brass. My son actually ended up burning his brass horn, and you know what color it turned? Black, all right? Which means Jesus had dark brown to black skin. His hair was like wool. Who has hair like wool? Black people. So white people didn't like what Jesus really looks like and made Jesus in their image, and we're still worshiping this blonde hair, blue-eyed, silky hair Jesus that is not Jesus, right? We should talk about that. How civil rights became rights for others, how because of my ancestors, people on the sweatshirt who fought and died, my students can sit in the classroom with students of different races. People don't have to deal with discrimination. Like I'm at Pete's Coffee right now. I can shop at the same stores that white people can shop at. I can go to the same places. I can go to the same schools. I can not be discriminated against my job. All of these things that people take for granted that are because these people right here fought and died for civil rights, and those rights meant rights for everybody. The reason why we have birthright citizenship, right? Everybody here who's not Native, Black, or white, your ancestors came over here, and you were able to get birthright citizenship, meaning that when they had a baby here, then now you're a citizen. That's because of civil rights legislation. The reason why people of different races are able to immigrate here at all is because Black people fought and made that possible. How whites still benefit from slavery. They want to say, get over slavery, but there's all kinds of things that would still exist because of slavery, including white supremacy, including ways that white people are privileged and Black people are disadvantaged. We never talk about that. We don't talk about how history protects white people, how we make sure that white people are their feelings are hurt, how we coddle them, how we don't teach how bad it really was so that white people aren't uncomfortable. That's some bullshit. How Black history is American history. You can't talk about the history of the United States without talking about Black people. We built the White House. We built the Capitol. The money from Princeton, the money from Yale, that came from enslavement. We built this country. We built New York. We built New Orleans. You can't talk about American history without talking about Black people. Black history is American history. It should not be excluded. You can't talk about it without us. And how black women contributed to gynecology because Dr. Marion Sims tortured us and did all kinds of, one woman did 30 surgeries on without any anesthesia because he believed that black people didn't feel pain the same way that white people do. And you still see that with medical discrimination where black women are not taken seriously, which is why we're dying, having babies, because they're not taking this seriously when we talk about the pain that we're experiencing. And so we just end up dying in these fucking hospitals. So you still see that, but we would not have the contributions to gynecology if it wasn't for black women. How Mansa Musa was the most richest man to ever live. More money than Elon Musk, more money than Donald Trump. We don't talk about that because we're never really talking about black people thriving. We're not talking about Madam C.J. Walker as the first millionaire. We're not talking about Mansa Musa as the most man with the most money. We're not talking about Jesus being black because we never put black people in this positive light where we're showing them thriving. These are all the things we could be teaching about rather than Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. There is so much more to black history than Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, and we have to do better.